Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about growth, not the kind that's loud and fast, but something deeper, the kind of real, lasting growth that happens inside us when we finally learn to give ourselves a little bit of time and a little bit of grace. So let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to force it? You know that feeling, right? That frustration when you're just not learning something fast enough, or changing a habit, or maybe healing from something, and it's just not happening on your schedule. I think we've all been there, trying to rush something that just needs to unfold on its own. Well, that exact feeling is at the heart of this really powerful little story. It's a piece of wisdom that was passed down from a grandmother, and it teaches us something so important about where our real strength comes from. So just imagine a young boy. He's full of excitement, full of energy. He's planted his very first garden, and every single day he runs out to check on it. He's just so impatient to see those vegetables pop up, right? He wants that harvest he can be proud of. But to his frustration, the plants just seem to grow so incredibly slowly. And so he gets this idea. In this moment of, let's call it misguided determination, he thinks he can help them along. So he starts to gently tug on the little shoots, trying to pull them taller, actually believing that he can speed up the process. He's literally trying to force the outcome he wants so badly. And of course, his grandmother sees him doing this, and she comes over and shares this simple truth with him. She says, growth cannot be forced. It can only be nurtured. She explains that when we try to force things, we usually end up breaking them. But true, real change, well, that comes from creating the right conditions and then just allowing things to unfold. And inside that one piece of wisdom, there are these two quiet but incredibly powerful virtues that are just essential for growth. It doesn't matter if it's in a garden or, inside our own hearts. Think of them as two seeds of strength. Okay, so the first seed is patience. But look, this is not about just sitting on your hands and waiting. It's not passive. It's actually a really active, compassionate kind of strength. It's the wisdom to trust that there is a process and to give things and to give yourself the time and the space you need to develop naturally, without all that judgment and force. And the second seed is discipline. And again, this isn't what you probably think. It's not about being harsh or super rigid. True discipline is more like a quiet rhythm. It's just the gentle, steady act of showing up. It's watering the garden every day, pulling a few weeds here and there, just those small, consistent efforts, day in and day out. So you might be wondering, how can these really gentle forces create such big change? Well, there's this incredible metaphor for what happens when you combine that patience with that quiet discipline. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a giant stone you want to break. You could take a huge hammer and hit it with all your might, just one massive blow. And you know what would probably happen? Nothing. The hammer would just bounce right off. The real power to change something that strong doesn't come from one big burst of force. It comes from something way more subtle. Now imagine taking a soft rope and just pulling it back and forth over that hard stone, over and over, day after day, month after month. Eventually, that soft rope will carve a groove right through the stone. It's unbelievable, but it's true. The rope's power isn't in its strength, it's in its persistence. Your small daily efforts, they are that rope. And this really brings us to the most important part. How do we actually use this in our own lives, right? How do we become that patient gardener for our own peace, for our own well-being? Let's kind of put it all together. Okay, so first, we have to trust the process. We have to believe that healing and learning and changing, it all takes time. It has its own rhythm. Second, we have to honor the small efforts. Really celebrate just showing up each day, no matter how tiny the action feels, because remember, that's the rope against the stone. And finally, we nurture. We treat ourselves with the same care a gardener gives a precious plant, with compassion, never with force. So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this to think about. Whether you're learning a new skill, or healing a relationship, or maybe building a new habit, what is the stone in your life that you are patiently, consistently, and gently shaping one day at a time?